We've got this, as we mentioned a moment ago. Former FBI Director James Comey did appear for that arraignment. Alexandria, Virginia, a moment ago, pled not guilty to these two charges that the Justice Department has now laid against him, accusing him of lying to Congress. I want to bring in Andy McCarthy here. It was a short hearing, as to be expected. Do you believe the government has a case, Andy? And if so, how strong?
I don't believe they have a case, Bill, based on what we've seen in the indictment and what we know from the public reporting. But now we're going to find out. You know, the arraignment was apparently unexceptional and unremarkable. That's usually the case. The only thing that really happens is a plea gets entered. But now the real work begins. The judge will set a schedule for the filing of motions. I expect that Comey's team is going to make motions, particularly about selective prosecution and that sort of thing. And the judge will have to rule on that. And if the case doesn't get thrown out prior to a trial date, we'll have a trial.
Andy, what do we know about representation that Comey has?
Yeah, I think his main lawyer is Pat Fitzgerald. I should note, Dana, for full disclosure, Pat Fitzgerald was my partner in the Blind Shake case, the terrorism prosecution I did in the 1990s. I'm obviously very fond of him, but he is Comey's lawyer.
Well, I'll raise you that full disclosure. He was a prosecutor against Karl Rove in that Valerie Plame case. I was a spokesperson for that case as well. So he's a longtime Washington operative, but they are kind of two peas in a pod.
Yeah, they're very close. I think that when Fitzgerald was the Deputy Attorney General in the Bush 43 administration, he obviously is the one who brought Fitzgerald on to be the special counsel. I think a lot of people, no matter how they feel about the personalities involved, have a lot of problems with that case. I certainly did, because by the time Fitzgerald was appointed as special counsel, it was already known that Scooter Libby, who was the subject of that prosecution, was not the source of the leak. That was the rationale for having the investigation in the first place.
Indeed.
I'm going to interview Dana on this next. I
got thoughts. I got thoughts.
She was in the middle of all of that in another life. Andy, listen, either James Comey told the truth or he didn't, right? I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, but it gets more complicated than that, Bill, because, so there's 2020 testimony, which refers back to 2017 testimony. And what Ted Cruz's questions seem to be about, when you go back to the transcript of the 2020 testimony, is whether Andy McCabe had authorization. McCabe was the deputy director of the FBI. Whether he had authorization from Comey to leak a story about the Clinton Foundation that the FBI was investigating to the Wall Street Journal. And the circumstances are that even McCabe has said that Comey didn't authorize him. He didn't discuss the matter with Comey until after the story was out. So it's unlikely that McCabe could be this person three who Comey authorized to leak stuff to the media, according to the government. So they've started to look at other people. But I think when you look at the other people that they have centered on, the problem is, at the time that there were leaks from, for example, from Comey through Dan Richman of Columbia Law School, neither Comey nor Richman was an FBI official, and the stuff that was leaked was not about Hillary Clinton, which is what the indictment says. So I just think that factually they have a very difficult time making this case. And let's not forget, the U.S. attorney who Trump had put in the first place, Eric Siebert, who evidently was a good enough U.S. attorney in terms of the Trump enforcement program, that Attorney General Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Blanche went to the president to try to persuade him to keep him in place. He was the one who didn't want to bring this indictment. I don't think he didn't want to bring it because he has any great fondness for Comey. I think he didn't want to be responsible for signing off on an indictment that they might not be able to prove.
Right, Andy McCarthy, thanks for your expertise, as James Comey has just pled not guilty today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.